Google is one of the most customer-centric companies you can think about.
Difficult customers are the best customers to have because they really push your limit.
And your consumers want to see content that reflects, the social fabric.
The starting point of this whole business excellence framework is in terms of understanding who our customers are.
Where have you, in your experience as an industry leader in the Indian environment, seen some of the good practices which follow some of this philosophy? And also, where have you seen the pitfalls or gaps or challenges in implementing this customer centricity?
I'll give you a very simple example, which to my mind embodies customer centricity as we heard from him, but which was something I experienced way back between the period 1990 and 96. So we are really talking about an experience which is 32 years old. So it's that long back. Just to give you, I'm trying to keep it short. It's basically a very strong anecdote on customer centricity. I used to be the marketing head for a company called Indian Organic Chemicals. It was a Chennai-based company, but headquartered in Bombay. And it was one of the first polyester manufacturers in India. They used to make polyester fiber, filament, and later on became the first people to make polyester chips for the bottles, polyester PET bottles, as we came to know. They also went on to make the first PET bottles in Asia. So it is a very interesting and a very innovative company with a good legacy. Now, this company had a very big customer. One of their, let's say, fountainhead customers was Raymond's. As Raymond's is well known, I don't think needs any introduction. It's a very large company. Now, I was perplexed when I saw the relationship this company had with my company, Raymond's and us. It was like a symbiotic relationship. My boss was a brilliant man, but a very cranky guy. And as I joined the company, I was surprised when on a Saturday, I was supposed to have weekends off actually. So Saturday, Sundays were supposed to be off. So he just told me, Thomas, can we go to Raymond's this Saturday? And it was my first or second Saturday with the company. And I said, okay, it is a very important customer. So I accompanied him. It is, I think, been one of the turning points in my life in understanding how a customer is to be served. I worked for that company for 5 years or 6 years. I don't remember a single Saturday in those 6 years that I actually took off. I was in Raymond's every Saturday, 52 weeks a year, 52 into 6 years. Every Saturday was a day devoted to Raymond's. And what did we do? We did everything that Ajay Kohli talked about. We interacted with every department in the company. So I was not alone. I had some colleagues. Most of the time, my boss also accompanied me. We met people in, of course, purchase. We met people in manufacturing, we met people in marketing, we met people in quality, we met people in product development. And every Saturday was a journey of understanding that customer, listening to the customer, being in his factory. He talked about, plant visits, observing the plant, getting to know people. And I realized what this did. This actually what it did is, every company has problems. You'll always have some quality problems. You'll always have some processing problems in the factory. But you could solve these problems because the Raymonds never looked at us as a stranger. They looked upon us as a partner in their growth journey. And it never, ever led to a point of conflict where even serious problems we could resolve just because we knew the people in the company so well, and they knew we had their best interests at heart. And of course, the relationship actually transcended many levels. I mean, there was a time when we were in trouble and Raymond's came to our rescue. How? Very simple. They said, okay, we know you need money to run your company. Give us an invoice for 3 months. With whatever you supply to us, whatever you know you've been supplying for years, we were the predominant suppliers. We almost, I think, occupied 80-85% of the market share. We had very strong competition from ICI, who were originators in polyester and nylon. And then, of course, we had Reliance, but we still had almost 85% share. So they said, make out an invoice for 3 months sale and we'll give you the money up front. So, you know, this, when I hear about customer centricity in today's context, I always think to myself that, you know, people really don't understand what it means. You can imagine for me and my family, it was those 52-week Saturdays, which I never took for 5 years, were spent, devoted and invested in a company like Raymond's. And it paid rich dividends for both the companies. It was literally co-creation with the company about new products, how to resolve issues, how to jointly market new products. So to my mind, I think everything that Ajay Kohli said is something I experienced 32 years ago. And therefore, over the years, when I've seen companies, large corporates talk about customer centricity, I always have a smile on my face because, you know, I experienced it firsthand more than 3 decades ago. So coming to your other question, Anjali, what is it that companies do? So let me give you here another anecdotal example. About 5-6 years ago, our chairman, who's really a visionary, Mr. Kumaramangalam Birla, he launched what is called the Bostomer program. Very interesting concept. He said, your real boss is not me. And he actually kept an empty chair in a conference room and said, that's your boss. And that was the empty chair that Ajay Kohli talked about. And he said, that's your boss. That's your customer. So that's why the word Bostomer came. And a whole program came into being to understand the customer's journey, his buying journey, to understand his pain points, and to know that we are not just a supplier of product and services. We've got to become an integral part of his business and become a solution provider for him, not a person who just provides product and services. So the Bostomer journey, which began 6 years ago at ABG, has taken firm roots. And, you know, there are so many things which have followed, whether it is the mapping of the customer's journey, the lifetime value of the customer, looking at various account management themes so that accountability rests with, specific people to manage every interface with the customer. And most importantly, the fact that Ajay said, rightly so, in a customer-centric organization, it is not the marketing or the sales team which owns the customer. It is each one of us which owns the customer. It is only when each one of us owns the customer and understands his pain points can we deliver value to him. And that, to my mind, has been a turning point in ABG. All our companies, all our businesses in different verticals are moving towards being more and more customer-centric. And I'm hopeful that in the years to come, we will not just be known as a great manufacturing company, but we will also be known as a great customer-centric company.
It's great.
These are some of my experiences that I can tell you personally.
Sorry, these are actually shining examples. So it's absolutely great that you had 2 organizations where you've always put the customer first. Unfortunately, that's not always true for all organizations. So I will give you examples of some mid-market companies and Indian founders, where especially when it comes to this whole equation between customer centricity experience versus revenue and profitability. And people sometimes have remarked that, there's that much that I can spend on the customer because my financial metrics are a priority. And therefore, sometimes it's a bit of a paradox, but it's almost like questioning that are these directly proportional or inversely proportional? And how is it that the industry is looking at it? And what are the practices around this? Do people really believe that this is a revenue center? I mean, if there is something called Customer Experience Center or Customer Excellence Center, Center of Excellence around the customer, is that a revenue center? Is that a cost center? How is that looked at?
Well, frankly, you asked, I don't know how to describe the question. There is only one revenue center in any business, and that's your customer. There is no other revenue center. All other centers are cost centers. Whatever you do is you're expending. The only guy who pays your salaries, who pays every factory worker's salary, is the customer. And I think being sensitive to that customer, ensuring that you learn to listen to him intently, experience what he goes through, and put yourself in his shoes all the time, is the only way out for a great company. It's only by experiencing your customer, understanding his buying journey, understanding his own manufacturing setup, his own cost centers, his own limitations, can you add value to his enterprise. And that value is not cost. It is only your investment for further revenue. If you don't make that investment, well, you're dead after some time, because you're not really investing in what is most important for you, which is your customer. And the wallet share of the customer, and to ensure his lifetime purchase value. Believe me, I mean, Ajay will tell you of enough number of statistics, but getting a customer back is like almost an impossible task if you lose him. So what they say is the customer acquisition cost can be sometimes even 100x of the original cost of acquiring them. And therefore, you don't lose a customer, ever, if you can help it. But I also agree with Ajay that it's not that it has to be customer compelled. It has to make business sense, whatever, because customers can sometimes be outrageous. And as Gates said, difficult customers are the best customers to have because they really push your limit. They test your limit as an organization to serve them. And I think that's really good to have customers like that, because they then test your abilities and the stretch of your organization to really meet their requirements, whether it's in terms of new product launches, or it's in terms of a better customer service, or it is in terms of, let's say, what we talk about in supply chain, how much OTIF can you achieve? How much can you crash lead times for him so that he has less inventory? So you can help a customer in myriad ways. And there's a value to that to every customer. And I think that value, when put financially, is a win-win for both the customer and for you. And that's something that many organizations have still not learned or are learning, but we still have a long way to go.
Yeah. I think in the long term, clearly, if that vision mid to long term is there, they are clearly aligned. But if you have a very short term vision, sometimes it can look like they're not in line, and therefore, that could lead to, decisions which may not be totally consumer centric. So that said, let's move to the next question. And this question is about saying that, we've all said we need to listen to our customers, and various modes of listening, be it CSAT, NPS, social listening, customer call center data. There's various ways we get data or information, direct conversations, research. But how often are these metrics really good to know versus are they really put into action? So when you talked about sharing and action, how much have you really seen these metrics are really being used to arrive at decisions and make changes, be it in process, policy, product, service, whatever? Does that really happen? I mean, we all know what is the advisable way. We are all aware. But what I'm asking is that, what is the practice?
I think, we, like everyone said, we have different kind of companies. You have mid-sized companies, you have large companies, you have good companies, you have some very large companies who are not really customer-centric. You have maybe small companies who are customer-centric. So I don't think there's a one-size-fits answer for this. But to answer your question and my experience, I think everything that you mentioned is all there. It is how companies use this information. For instance, every company has a sales and marketing organization which goes to meet customers. The progressive companies not just meet the purchase team of a customer, they also go and meet the product development team. They also go and meet the NPD team. They go and meet the manufacturing team. They go and meet, the marketing team sometimes, because there are new products. Sometimes there's a lot of storytelling to be told jointly as a co-creation product. So good companies interact at multiple levels. And the listening at these levels, if distilled and consolidated at one end so that it's available to all, becomes the source of the most invaluable information. And believe me, the most invaluable information in marketing and in sales actually comes from customers. They don't come from the thin air. They come from customers most of the time. Secondly, when you ensure that the customer is comfortable and has a relationship with you where you do joint business plans, you do co-creation of new products, the confidence itself leads them to iterate with you, to brainstorm with you, and to come to new solutions. So that's one point. NPS, many companies do NPS, top-down, bottom-down NPS, and these are sources of excellent information. The call center concept of collecting data, we have done for many countries, for many customers, but we invariably found there are many problems where there are language barriers, and there are also cultural barriers, because there are many countries where owners of companies do not wish to share data, and we have experienced that. Sure. We've also seen that language can be a big barrier. Let's say in Korea or in China, we find this to be a very big barrier to the call center concept, even if we take a Chinese call center or a Korean call center to decode the customer information coming in. The customer satisfaction surveys, NPS, call centers, all are sources of very good data. But there's nothing to beat the direct customer data that you collect. However, the challenge really lies in companies being able to distill this information coming in, making a meaningful sense of what is the customer trying to tell you. And many times you see, we always think of what he tells you. We never think of what he doesn't tell you. And therefore, many times the real secret lies in what he's not expressing. But if you are smart enough, you will pick it up. And particularly as senior management travels to customers. So we also created this whole concept that customers has to be met by senior managers and senior leaders all the time. So whether it's visiting our stores, visiting the market, meeting customers, meeting multi-brand outlets, meeting the retail trade, I think all this and documenting what comes out. What is the learning? What is the insight? If an organization is able to put it together, as we have been able to do, again, sure. I would not say with 100% perfection. And I think companies which build a very strong CRM module, where all this information sort of comes in and sits together, is available to everyone, can be accessed and acted upon, are the companies which are doing best service to their customers and literally walking down the path of customer centricity as we understand.